Hey folks, and welcome to a daily rating special. On today's show, we'll be sitting down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the first 5 films in the Fast and Furious franchise. Vince will spend some time discussing each film and go through how they stand alone, but also coincide with one another. And of course, at the end, he'll rate the films. Vincent's ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. The first 5 movies are The Fast and the Furious by Rob Cohen, Too Fast and Too Furious by John Singleton, The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift by Justin Lin, Fast and Furious by Justin Lin, and finally, Fast 5, directed by Justin Lin. It's going to be a great special, folks, so stay tuned and enjoy. Mr. Vincent Daly, how we doing, buddy?
Tommy boy, how's it going?
It's going okay on my end. Whoa, he's zipping around, folks. I can't get him. He's too fast for me.
He's too fast. He's
too furious.
He's furious.
And he might be a little furious after a whole week of Vin Diesel.
Oh man, I think I will be furious definitely at the end of the 10. I think I'm all right now. At the time of recording this, I have 7 under my belt. So.
It's a lot. I know, it's a lot. And he's not done yet. That's the craziest part.
Yeah, that's the terrible aspect of it. I'll tell you what, Tom, this episode did not almost happen. The new Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, came out.
Almost started a new podcast.
Almost. I mean, it's a really phenomenal game. It was like last year with Elden Ring. It came out, and I was just like, oof, this is going to be splitting the time.
Well, the fact that you still managed to get through 7 is quite impressive.
Yeah. Honestly, though, these were easy watches. Some laughing at it for bad reasons. Some's laughing with it, though. There was some brevity to it. So
yeah, quite a week. I'm very excited for it. I'm glad I also wasn't a part of this too much.
No Tommy Two Shoes coming out as a surprise.
There was one really funny thing. So I was out of the state. I was doing a fishing trip in Virginia. But one thing, I can never sleep. So I'm watching TV late at night, and it's almost on mute, but I can barely hear it. So I wake up and I'm channel surfing.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, I caught the last 5 minutes of Fast 5.
Oh!
And the movie directly after it.
Oh, wow.
Kong Skull Island.
The curse.
My new hate watch. So it was like too perfect.
That's great. That rock you to sleep.
Yeah. But you did a great job. I mean, I love that you did these. I love how dedicated you are to
them. But the thing is, there's such a fake lore that goes on with all these films. And what I mean by like fake lore is like there'll be movies in the future part of the franchise that will make callbacks to these movies and say like something was there, but it really wasn't. And I feel like to judge that properly,
right,
I need to see the source. I need to say like, no, that wasn't there at the beginning.
And the funny thing is, doing some research on this, I didn't realize, it's not really the names are annoying, first of all. After that, it's not so much a continual story. We'll jump back and forth. We're in this timeline, then we're going to kind of be in this timeline. And I didn't realize that there's like trilogies within the 10 kind of.
Yeah.
It's really a whole thing. So one thing I'm happy about is you can kind of actually break this down. Because I don't know if anyone's seen all of the. Like, I'm sure there's people who've seen all of them. I'm sure a lot of people have just seen some and not all.
Right.
That deal. But the fact that you can break it down, kind of give us a bit of a guidebook is how I look at it.
Yeah,
and we can get into some of the fun of it. So I love it. There was a 1954 film that we won't be covering called The Fast and the Furious. So for all those people,
licensing hell
who
too,
are exciting. Yeah.
It almost squashed the first Fast and Furious because of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Very interesting. So,
so I think with that, we'll just kind of jump into it.
Mm-hmm.
We are in 2001. This is The Fast and the Furious. It's rated PG-13. It's an hour and 46 minutes long. Vin, how did we like it?
Well, this film isn't super unique, with plenty of criticism over the time and at the time, comparing it to Point Break and many other kind of undercover stories. However, I wanted to defend this movie out of the gate a little bit because it's actually started off of a magazine story called Racer X in 1998. Vibe magazine was a zine capturing some of the street racing culture at the time. This story highlighted Rafael Estevez, a real-life Dominican driver in drag races and in the tuning scene. So I bring it up because it shows the good intentions this franchise had starting out, putting a cool subculture on film. Is this movie great? No. But I kind of want to, I don't know, I not that that's going to affect the rating at all, but I do think that there was some good intentions in showing the actual racing culture at the time, which I think is cool. In the right hands, I feel like that really could have been much more of a monumental film. So.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because right now video games are starting to get a little bit more better graphics. There's a lot of racing games coming out. Gran Turismo is kind of a thing now.
Sure.
And just the whole the customizing your car, the whole kit car thing, NOS. I mean, it's all just. I feel like it was in the culture a little bit too.
Need for Speed Underground,
right? They all kind of played off each other really well.
Yeah. And if anything, in the wake of this first Fast and Furious, what surprises me is that like you take like a Need for Speed, you take even arcade racers that are very customizable, and, you know, the head-to-head type of format. And honestly, it's all in response, or it's drastically changed at least because of Fast and Furious and what it does with the with this kind of modder tuner car subculture.
Yeah,
so
I do like that note though, that it's like it's actually trying to be something.
Yeah,
it's not trying to be I don't know, schlock or something like that. Or
it kind of comes out as schlock, but that's exactly my point, that like there are intentions to try to capture something real and electric that's clearly going on from the very late 90s into the 2000s.
Right, yeah.
So Rob Cohen is directing and has done a lot of just meh in his career. But he is certainly seasoned with working with Vin Diesel, which who knows if he would have been attached to the franchise at all without this. So I think we got a lot of time with Vin in an alternate, not too alternate of a universe, one decision away. Maybe I wouldn't have to listen to the human thumb just go on and on about family. We'll get to Vin with plenty of critiques. So.
I do think you're right about the director, though, because he wasn't going to get this, or it was like not attached to him at all. Mm-hmm. And I think it was more of a last minute thing, kind of. He came in, and boy. He's still here. He won't leave.
He won't leave.
Like a bad house guest.
There's now a rumor mill that Fast 10 might get stretched out to its own like concluding trilogy. There's definitely going to be a Fast 11, but there may be a Fast 12.
Probably. But that's funny because Fast 10 was part of the trilogy with 8, 9, 10, I believe, right? Because that's when we get into F8, Fate of the Furious, then we get into F9, and this is F10.
Yep.
Or Furious 10. I loathe these names. You know what this reminded me? This is the Xbox of movie names.
Yeah,
where it's just
for
like
real.
360 is your second console?
Series X, Series S. Yeah, absolutely.
No, thank you.
But yeah, folks, it's real simple here. Paul Walker playing Brian O'Connor is versus Vin Diesel playing Dominic Toretto. O'Connor is a undercover federal agent infiltrating the street racing scene because of a string of mobile robberies. Hold on to your seats, folks. They're after DVD players and VHS players. Okay. That's some pretty low stakes, and honestly, it's called back to in some of the future movies. But I cannot. It's surreal where this movie franchise goes, and that was what the stakes were in the first one. Toretto is a king in the street racing scene with a very tightly knit crew that has a suspicious loyalty to him. But as we will get force fed throughout these movies, it is all because of family, and that'll be crop up almost in every film. O'Connor gets tangled in Toretto's crew, chasing after the promise of a 10-second car, and falls in love with his sister closest to the danger. This movie is a mix of street racing, crime, undercover tension, and romance. And while I wish it was the true-to-life love letter to street racing, like I opened with, The movie is very sadly stale in its execution, even by 2001 standards.
Okay.
I can't help but think this would have been lightning in the bottle in the right hands for the timing of it, but maybe in possibly a more amateur filmmaker that is in the scene at that time. I don't know, 2001, give it an early found footage, rip off Blair Witch. It's about street racing at like the street racing level.
Yeah.
Cut out the crime. You're
so right.
I feel like this could have been lightning,
Because it is a bit of an underground. It's an underground thing.
Yeah.
It could you could do something cool with camera work and everything like that. Neat idea, yeah.
Yeah, and in the production, credit to this production, they do lean on other real street racers, their car customizations. I mean, extras were just kind of flocking to this production just to show their ride and their customization as kind of a clout thing.
Right. Kind of cool.
Yeah, but, crying over not spilled milk, non-existent milk. So we'll put that aside. Nonetheless, this is the movie that took tuner and car modding culture to the big screen. The modded cars are a great throwback, and I appreciate the many real cars used in the production of the film. I feel like there's some enjoyment that this one specifically has in kind of being as close as we're going to get to true to life for it. As tacky as some of those designs may be, it is authentic for the time. I think an early criticism I had in my notes that I deleted was that every car has like a tribal decal on the side in the exact same spot, but I think that just was that was just how it was. So, I think there's some credit given to the film for that. But on this note, the film shows its age in the worst way, the races themselves. The special effects shown perfectly in the first drag race look just awful. Something about the artificial blur that is given to cars make them look intentionally make them look faster.
Sure.
Comes off fake. It looks like they're almost in a studio altogether. Special effects, I think, is going to be a big through line between all these reviews because it's about how good are the stunts, how good or bad is the CGI, and on top of that, I mean, how is this integrating into a fast, fun? I'm trying not to use furious, but a fast, fun,
actiony, high action, high octane type stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so true with it's so funny because they could have gone like the anime route and it would almost be awesome.
Oh, you just wait.
Okay.
We'll get there.
But yeah, I mean, 2001, we're talking 22 years now it's been.
Yeah. There's just something about this. I would say there's two type of iconic scenes in all of these films.
Okay.
It is the digital going down the driver's arm into the engine, looking at the things.
Yes.
And then there's also the ass height shot of other cars and asses.
Yes.
That is in every one of these films.
Yeah, the movie's always trying to be sexy in some sort of way.
Yeah. So those just get kind of washed out on repeat, especially when you're 7 movies deep. So we'll see what my opinions are next week on those. But as far as some of this work, I thought it was important to note because for a franchise now known for crazier and crazier stunts, stunt work with cars was the point from the very start. Notable stunts here, pretty much anytime they drive under a truck, which they love doing, there's a surprising amount of driving under trucks. That is like their go-to. And a fun dirt bike chase towards the end of the movie. I think those are the two real standouts here. Performance-wise, it's a mixed bag, mostly because some bad lines just no one can escape.
Yeah, the writing's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say anyone's really great, but I feel like they're shot in the foot an extra degree. just having some bad script behind them. But surprisingly, it's Vin Diesel that was halfway decent here. I would say the mystery of how Dominic Toretto operates kind of works. He juggles some intrigue on whether he's a bad guy or not, and I thought it was kind of solid just in this first one. But really, the key reason for this, folks, is he doesn't talk much. There is a silent mystery. He's this quiet, crime lord that it doesn't quite translate when he has to be a leading man, and just more and more lines he has to deliver. It's just, I don't know. I almost hesitate using the word deliver. Right? They just kind of fall out of his mouth a lot of the time. Time and time again, we will see Vin Diesel's own acting be the Achilles heel of these films, especially once we get past that 5 point.
Okay. But not yet. Not in one. He's an action upside.
And yes, he's a slight upside. So take your credit where you get it, Vin. Some pretty bad music here. I don't mind some of.
Wait! I can't.
Oh, okay.
We're not done with actors yet.
Oh, okay.
Because Michelle Rodriguez is in this film. How is Michelle Rodriguez
on par?
Okay.
For what I don't think Michelle Rodriguez is outdoing my hatred of seeing her on screen.
Okay,
and maybe I'll go a little bit lighter. Is she really horrible in this? No. I feel like she was worse in like Avatar or something like that.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, when she's playing more to the tough girl type of typecasting that she falls into.
And Paul Walker.
Paul Walker, I would say,
Really? Well, I don't know why I'm surprised by that. Makes sense.
He's having some fun. We will see in 2 him have a lot more fun, and I feel like that's where Paul Walker really shines.
I can't imagine him. I haven't watched this in a very long time.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
No, fortunately. Get out with your skin still on.
But it comes across as like not. I don't know. Is he selling it? Is he selling the character?
I'll say this much: the pressure that Toretto gives is an odd one. There's this silent intensity that he has, again, as a byproduct of Vin Diesel just not talking that much.
Right.
That goes away very quickly. But there is a cool line that it rides because he's expecting having to be a tough criminal to kind of get into a crime family. But then what Brian O'Connor is met with is this family appeal. And that's where this kind of opens up a gateway that he has a crush on his sister and that romance blossoms there. So it juggles a lot, but that's where I think the film potentially works. It's, again, a little stale, but that's where I would give it the credit on landing on somewhat on the positive end.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Back to music.
Back to that bad music. I like I said, I don't really mind some generic house and trance music used, but the licensed songs just suck. It's just bad. This brings my biggest critique. There is more partying than racing in this film. This will be not for partying, but this will be my critique time after time again, that racing is not the focus of these films, ironically.
Yeah, I thought really one was. I thought those early ones were all about racing.
Yeah, there's more party scenes. And granted that's supporting this kind of this undercover crime tension, this him falling in love with the sister.
Right.
But it just blows my mind that racing is just not the main focus in the story. Time is split enough juggling the romance and then the cops. But now countless scenes are just having lame parties with Dom's crew having a Corona and talking about family. It's just like, I don't know. That's where this movie gets shot in the foot. It's just like, I feel like you could chop it down. I feel like you just don't need these party scenes. I feel like tension should have been built on the streets, behind the wheel, in a race.
Yeah, of course.
So, the drama around the romance is very weak. I use drama very lightly. The fact that the plot shifts around the romance is also disappointing. It's just a classic case of just like you're enjoying the film and it's just like the romance is getting in the way.
Absolutely.
It's just like why you gotta do this?
Right.
So,
just go have a race.
Yeah, exactly. Folks, sadly, I could pick apart this film, and I think I'm going to give it a little bit of a mercy kill here and skip some of the secondary notes I have. It's that fake lore that this series will pull out of its ass that I can't exactly say avoid this movie altogether either. If anything, there's so much pulled time and time again from this first film.
Right.
But this movie is best described as kind of a vapid blockbuster in 2001 and a vapid blockbuster today. We're going to go ahead and give The Fast and the Furious 2001 a 51.
A 51. Okay. All right.
Right side of that coin.
We are. I'm excited to see where we go from here.
Yeah,
a 51. I wouldn't say surprising. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a little bit more fair than I thought you were going to give it.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because again, it's 22 years old, and it's got some issues.
Yeah, for sure.
That was great. Yeah. So that article, I think it's very cool that it kind of came from this 1998 article. Very cool.
It's a good read too.
Yeah, I put it in this previous newsletter. I'll put it in the next one as well.
Sure.
So people can kind of check it out if they're interested in seeing that. I also have a link on there as well. There's some great kind of B-roll footage, some behind-the-scenes action footage of them actually filming action scenes for the new one, Fast 10.
Okay.
And it's boys at a big production. Like Real Streets, it's a lot going on. So just kind of cool to see that B-roll and everything like that. Okay, so let's keep on going. This is...
He's exhausted already.
Okay, so we're jumping to you. Oh, and also, I think it's fun to say because it's just the first film, they don't know where it's going to go from here and everything like that. Had a budget of $38 million, and worldwide it did make $207. So, of course, as these just become just absolute printing machines, essentially.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? But it starts simple 38 million, but it made 6 times the money that they spent on it. So
that's what you need to birth a franchise for sure.
And why only 2 years later in 2003 we get Too Fast, Too Furious. Different director now. This is John Singleton.
Yep.
And let's jump into it. How's Too Fast?
So the chatter online with this one, both critics and fans, is that this is possibly the worst one. Scoring high 30s critically, and where even the most soulless sequels get much, much higher praise. John Singleton directing hits like 1991's Boys in the Hood admittedly might be a little bit out of his element here, but I feel like it's a fresh perspective on what he's bringing. Tom, let me tell you, it brings me great joy to tell everyone that they are wrong. Too Fast, Too Furious may be the best.
The best? The best?
Yeah. Now, let me ease off. Let me ease off.
Okay.
I kid you not. It might be the best title, Too Fast, Too Furious, out of all the titles. I certainly enjoyed the most.
I think Fast and Furious, the fourth in the franchise, makes the most sense.
Oh, just, Fast and Furious.
It's just Fast and Furious.
You
that's
cut the
all.
the. Yeah.
But Too Fast, Too Furious, it is funny.
It's great.
But boy, oh boy, I mean...
Yeah. We definitely have a Predator 2 scenario here where
Okay.
I'm fighting an uphill battle a little bit.
Break it down. I mean, we have a whole new cast, essentially, except for Paul Walker.
Yep.
I mean, I like Eva Mendes, too. I think she's unbelievably beautiful, but... The best in the Fast and Furious, but okay, all right.
Not that the bar is set too high. And I'll have, obviously, we can do kind of a definitive ranking at the end of next week's episode
absolutely.
as well. But seriously, this movie has a laser focus on what is lost time and time again with these movies, and that is racing. The street culture here is much more cartoonish. Honestly, it's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, but I think it pairs better. And I mean, it pairs better because they're just having a lot of fun with it. The opening race sequence was so much like an arcade racing game. It's crazy. Making each of the racers themed in some way and taking car modifications to the absolute wildest. Everything's got neon. Everything's got NOS, you know?
Right, yeah.
There was such a heightened element that this film was having fun and absorbing its campiness in a way that, honestly, these new sequels where they say, oh, it's so crazy,
right.
bro, you don't know what they're gonna do. Those are so much more boring from the fun that this film has. It is
very interesting.
Oh yeah, I will die on the sword for Too Fast, Too Furious. This movie also plays much more into the kind of fun debate among car heads of import versus muscle, which is fun. And don't be fooled either by this coming before Tokyo Drift. Too Fast, Too Furious is the real anime. Racers are able to just talk smack to each other from their driver's seat without any explanation. It really does feel like a Speed Racer or like a mech anime where they're just like talking like, how are they hearing each other? But there's just such fun that this film is having with that. And if anything, giving an explanation to it, giving a one-liner, I feel like would immediately take the priority off of this film understands what it is and is trying to capture. You know, you walk into an arcade and you see this garish, lit up, double seat arcade cabinet that's, you know, any type of racer. That is what this movie is trying to achieve, and it achieves it so well.
Wow. Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Now, but your comparison to the newer ones, because the newer ones are action-packed and everything like that.
Right.
It's a lot going on. But the whole, the fun aspect, that just like...
The fun aspect is not there. They're super spies. They're gritty. They're
Right,
like wannabe
yeah.
Mission Impossible, Bourne, Bond, Batman.
Yeah, that's definitely what they're trying to be.
Yeah, and just with this crazy car combat, that will be plenty of talking points, even in Fast and Furious 4 and 5. But let me tell you, here there is a magic mix to it. So
I'm so happy about this.
like I said, it's an uphill battle.
Yes.
I feel like people that know this movie are going to be raising an eyebrow.
Don't be
what I'm
shy,
saying.
as long as, yeah.
The beauty about all this camp, though, is that the movie has no interest in explaining all of it, like I said, and is just far too busy focusing on racing. You hear about, how crazy the franchise gets after 5. Yes, it does get crazy, but those films become just Mission Impossible, super spy monstrosities, and they only get amped up to give our characters more spy action moments outside of the car. The craziness that is amped up very seldomly has to do with car racing itself. It's either some sort of upgrade to the character that allows them to operate like they aren't just street racers from California. So every piece of this film is clocked up to the point of being ridiculous in service of the racing, nothing else. And that's kind of my thesis on Too Fast, Too Furious. Thanks for joining.
You're very worried about this. But I think that's a complete logical. I like all the sounds of that.
Yeah, well, there's some atrocious CGI that I'll get to in just a moment that maybe is going to rob me of credibility, but we'll see. Paul Walker is playing Brian O'Connor again and is pulled back for another job with the feds after events with Toretto's crew. We start out with him finding a new partner for the job to take down a Miami crime lord. So no Vin Diesel, thankfully, and I think that's
right.
that added some enjoyment for me. This introduces Rowan Pierce, played by Tyrese Gibson, a chaotically fun wheelman that will bring out the best in Walker's performance. These two are gold on screen.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Both are having just such constant fun, bringing excellent chemistry on scene. They get tangled up in working jobs for this wannabe Scarface, but not once is it about shooting guns or sneaking around or hacking a computer. It's all about racing all of the time.
Yeah.
You get where I come from?
100%, because that's
it's focus.
That's right, and that's what you want from Fast and Furious films. Because even after the first one, it's all about the racing, and that's why I thought the one was so heavy in it.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that 2 was just like, let's just go for it, let's just do it.
One's just a lot of house parties. That's I couldn't get over how many house parties. Dom's got a huge budget for Coronas and throwing house parties.
But if we're here, it's an hour and 47 minutes, and if we're just going to sit down and we're going to get racing, just like in a John Wick, we know what we want to see.
Sure.
When you're watching a Fast and Furious, we want to see dudes in cars doing cool car stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
And I like how we just have black Vin Diesel. Like we just got a bald black man.
Tyrese is so much better though. He's so lively.
Yeah.
He brings out a better performance in Walker.
Yeah. He's got a good character.
Yeah. Let me tell you, everyone is having a good time. Everything they do, it's all smiles. Everyone is just so happy to be in Miami driving fast cars. It is. In good conscience, I cannot call this a bad movie because I feel like the performances, the fun, and the focus, it's just, I don't know, it's dialed in. There's some serious blemishes here, but it's so dialed in.
It's more streamlined than one.
Yeah, and for a franchise that is about delivering fun and crazy type of, I don't know, out there things, I feel like this one was the only one to actually have fun on screen, like characters actually having fun. In the later films, I feel like even these characters like Tyrese that are brought back, like Roman that are brought back.
Right.
Oftentimes the comedic setup, the fun setups are them panicking about how crazy the stakes have gone. And that's not fun, Forgive the tasteless joke. But Paul Walker is so alive in this film. Oh, man. Seriously. His acting was so much brighter and lively compared to any other time he's played O'Connor.
Wow, okay.
I'm not joking. Compared to his performance in the first and definitely the fourth film, it is night and day. It is like an entirely different actor on screen. I don't know where this fun goes in this fun car movie.
It could have been script. It could have been the cast. The set was more alive.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Chemistry with Tyrese.
Oh, big time.
I'm telling you. He's cooler, funnier, more charming. I feel like this is where the character clicked for me, only for the rest of the series to throw out this tone for this spy family bullshit. Just the simple focus that O'Connor loves cars.
Right.
He's in Miami with hot women.
Right.
And he's having the time of his life driving these cars. Like, that is what it needed. That's all it is. Praise for Tyrese Gibson again. He is an awesome sidekick with some great chemistry with Walker in a way that Diesel could never do and repeatedly never does with Walker. Script-wise, this is where we get some of our stupidest lines, but every time they call them each other like bro or cuz, it's sold because of the fun they're having in each other's performance.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, they're kind of both idiots. They're kind of both bros, but they rock that, you know?
Do you think this is the director coming from kind of the Boys in the Hood movie? And just...
it has to be. Maybe I honestly thought that was going to be a watch in coming weeks, because I want to see, I think Boys in the Hood is like a duo. And then, of course, throughout this entire franchise, I was kind of thinking of like Bad Boys or something like that.
Definitely, that comes to mind.
I'm definitely curious to check out that, to see if there's any kind of, any breadcrumbs there.
Right.
But Roman in this film might be my favorite character in the series, but it is specifically for Roman in Too Fast, Too Furious. He will have to morph to fill this more serious tones in the future movies that they juggle, but here he is genuinely funny, fiercely loyal, and just seriously great. The fact that I have two big praises for acting, I think, needs to speak volumes for how like cookie cutter and blockbuster this movie franchise is.
I thought he was terrible in this.
Yeah.
Like, thinking back on it, I thought he was just like bad.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm there with you.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna have to watch this one. This is being watched.
Yeah. No joke. The seeds of what this series will become are planted here. The plot is a little bit more James Bondish, and not just for the undercover aspect. Cole Hauser plays our villain with a Bond-style torturing scene and everything.
Cole Hauser, by the way, is the guy on Yellowstone now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he plays, oh my gosh, I can't remember. He plays Kevin Costner's main right-hand man, ranch hand, kind of. Very funny.
Wow. Humble beginnings. Yeah. Too Fast, Too Furious. He needs to bring that to Yellowstone. It really does these sprinklings of spy, lays down the template for what these films will become. It is law versus crime, with our crew being somewhere in the middle, finding their own way. That, if not to oversimplify it or not to even be cynical, but that really is the writing template.
You can go pretty simple on these films.
Yeah, plug it into an AI. You're gonna get a Fast and Furious script spin out. What was really surprising is camera work in normal scenes. It was kind of solid. Two scenes in particular were straight up great. The camera is very dynamic, presenting even mundane talking scenes with a lot of motion. There's a lot of dynamic work going on there. Matthew Linetti is behind the lens on this one and gives us my favorite shot, I think, in the whole series. There is a tracking shot for a helicopter that's flying overhead. Presumably, camera car is a truck with a crane or with an arm, and it's tracking this helicopter. It outpaces the helicopter, so now the camera is upside down, and then reveals a cop car chase behind them, of which it flips and have the cars drive by. It was fucking awesome. Wow, it was an awesome shot.
Okay.
Like, ballsy, fun to look at from a production standpoint, like to see like, oh, how'd they do that? Yeah.
It's impressive that you're saying all this about the second film in this franchise in 2003.
Right.
Like, this is when your best shot's coming from.
Right,
wow.
right. At least my personal favorite. I mean, obviously, the car mayhem will outdo itself time and time again. But
right.
There was something really special about the camera work here. So
love it.
Notable stunts here. That same cop chase with the helicopter, as well as the first race after getting the job with the crime boss. They have, like, once again, rival racers, like, I guess, bad guy racers, It's not rocket science, but it's fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
And the way they interact with is not a fight, not punching each other, not shooting each other. It's racing. They solve their problems through racing.
It's totally what the game should be.
It's great.
It is. It's like a game.
Yeah.
You want it to kind of be a bit of a video game.
Yeah. So now, folks, I've danced around this long enough. The CGI is atrocious. This shit looks like Transformers Beast Wars, the original TV show. Which is a plug to a future week when we have to review the new Transformers. Yeah. I mean, it's seriously... Tom, have you ever seen those wild, like, Nigerian films with, like, the worst CGI ever? Like the cats with like missiles coming out of their necks.
No, okay. I haven't seen the wild Nigerian films. No.
So there are in the deep reaches of the internet some wild Nigerian films that have just some horrible CGI. It looks like that in 2003.
Wow.
Yeah.
Double the budget, by the way.
Right.
Literally just doubled it, 76 mil.
That's a great point because I think maybe they felt pressured to like create these entirely digital race sequences sometimes.
But there was like racing, like there was real cars in motion.
It's basically it infects basically the opening race sequence that it's spliced in, and I think for the closing credits as well.
Okay,
is it good? Not even close.
Okay,
not even close. But bear with me here. I think an argument could be made for a stylistic choice. Alongside the cartoonish arcade racing cars, there's a seriously arcadeness to these visual effects. They don't look good, but they also don't look... they suspiciously don't look good for 2003 either.
Interesting.
No less with a double budget.
Interesting. Yeah.
I feel like... maybe it's a headcanon. Maybe, it's not the right way to see the film. I feel like you can see these... again, atrocious CGI effects and see them as stylistically to try to, again, create this arcade immersion.
Atrociously appropriate. Right?
I love that.
Okay.
That's definitely what I'm going to stick with.
Okay.
This long into Too Fast, Too Furious review.
But I like that. It could be, hey, it's so bad that it's good a little bit as well. There's an aspect to that.
We're definitely in Spig territory for this. But I feel like specifically for what we're looking towards for the focus on racing, that's where this is in the actual good territory. Right. But those effects are very heavy-handed. You're gonna have a gut reaction. You're gonna say, "Whoa, what is going on?" But I'm telling you, it's worth kind of going through. But like the digital effects in the first one, it's really only there for 1 or 2 races. Everything else is real stunt work, and everything else, and I mean. Everything in the movie is 90% about racing. No parties, very little spy shit, and certainly no family shoveled down your throat. Even the implied romance with Eva Mendes is, I don't know, it's fast and it's
not getting in the way.
It's not getting in the way. You're not like, oh boy, here we go. They enjoy racing in cars more. So. All joking aside, if you listen to when I praise character writing, it is always around operating in the story of how they are written. I think my template is going back to that Jurassic Park 1 review, that these characters are operating as scientists. These racers are racing. Our characters are drivers, therefore they progress the plot by racing, and I find that creates a much better sequel than any of the car mayhem and spy action the rest of the franchise gives us. We're going to go ahead and give Too Fast, Too Furious a 63.
Okay, all right, 63. Not a lot of not that much movement.
Right.
That's the first one.
Well, and like I said, it's I feel like I'm battling a lot with this one because largely this is considered the worst of the bunch.
And you will see, because you only got through 7 of them, and we're only going to hear 5 of them today. But okay, 63, folks, may be the best score of all 10 Fast and Furious
might be number 1.
Okay, 63% for Too Fast, Too Furious. I guess one question I had is like locale. So you said they were in Miami in this one. Yep. Is are we centered in Miami?
Yeah, pretty much all of these films until we get into the later 5 where they get more spy jet setting. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much all of these can be boiled down to they're picking one new city to set it in.
Wait, what, for the newer ones, you mean?
No, pretty much all of these.
But it's not Miami every single time.
Right. So, perfect example. Next one is Tokyo. Fast and Furious is Mexico. 5 is Brazil. Okay. You know, I mean, they pick one at a time.
The first one is Miami. Yeah. And the second one is Miami.
No, first one is California.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's in Glendale, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, all right, different locale for each movie.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just go ahead and jump on. Like you said, this is The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift in 2006. This is now directed by Justin Lin, who will go on to direct more. Yeah. Little confused about things. So, let's just jump into it. It's a little unique one here. Tokyo Drift, kind of why was it made? How does it perform? And how'd you like it?
Yeah, I mean, this is gives us a clean slate for our characters, and from what I can tell, fans kind of still consider this the ugly duckling of the series.
Yeah,
Justin Lin is directing here, helming 4 of these movies, and this being his first, with covering the remaining slots for our episode. And full credit to him because his eye for car stunt work is clearly a highlight for these series, and reaches new heights in this entry specifically. I feel like the car stunt work, the physical destruction of cars, just how willing he's to wreck these expensive-ass cars, you know. I feel like there's some credit there. I'm not a huge fan of Justin Lin. I'm definitely not a fan after seeing the ones that he's directed, but, you know, there is some credit there. It's also important to note that this movie takes place later in the timeline, as you alluded, Tom. I don't know if it's multiple timelines, but it is a later entry taking place sometime after Fast and Furious 6, and we loop around with this movie then.
Yeah, because then we kind of approach this storyline again way, way down the road.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. And then Hobbs and Shaw. We're not doing Hobbs and Shaw, correct?
No.
Okay, all right.
Prospectively, I'm saving Hobbs and Shaw and the 50s Fast and Furious for when Fast 11 comes out in a year.
That'll be perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so, I think it works just watching them release order. I kind of had
oh, okay, all right.
I had not a panic attack, but I really put some research into what is the proper watching order of these.
Right, do you need to reshuffle?
Honestly, the way it's called back, and again, with this kind of fake lore that the series cooks up, just watch them in release order. I think that's totally fine. So, this movie location hops yet again to one of the sources for tuner culture and drifting, but dials back the crime to tell kind of a more age-appropriate story in true anime fashion. This is a high school age adventure. We follow a country boy named Sean Boswell, sent to Japan as a punishment for his reckless racing. Oh, boo-hoo. Little does he know he will embark on a Gaijin's hero's journey to learn the art of drifting. Pretty racist, if you ask me. I mean, they talk about cultural appropriation. People were upset Scarlett Johansson playing an anime character. Where were those crowds now? Or back then? The Yakuza does enter into the mix to raise the stakes for high schoolers just a bit, but only when the plot has run out of cookie-cutter problems to source from. And those cookie-cutter problems are, hey, quit talking to my girlfriend. Hey, I challenge you to a race. I feel like the juvenile tone of this, the high school tone, it made me take everything a lot less serious here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the acting was very good. But I'll let you go at your own pace.
Yeah. We're right there. Folks, I have to be honest, though, the worst part about this movie is our lead, played by Lucas Black. He is outright terrible. By some terrible decision, they made him this country bumpkin, I'm your huckleberry, southern draw idiot, and in this very Asian setting that he's in, he sticks out like the sore thumb he is. I mean, it's
bad.
I've never experienced whiplash with line delivery. I think I may have now.
So this isn't like a John Wayne Brannigan in England type thing, right?
somehow you got Brannigan.
Thank you.
He's got it.
But bigger shock than that.
Oh, bigger shock. Bigger shock, like an ice bath of shock. Man, he sounds like a total imbecile. I mean, I am not kidding. It is outright terrible. Straight up sounds like he belongs in King of the Hill. That's how bad. Is the
actor naturally a Southern boy?
I have no idea. Get him off the screen. That's a good point. I don't know. I think for how overly Southern it is, I think it is a very bad accent
Yeah,
work.
he's hamming it up.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But then we have the romance focus like we had with one, and I'm telling you, Sean is just not doing it. Back off the acting, Sean. I think he is going to come back around eventually, but we'll see.
Okay.
We do get a fan favorite. Sung Kang is introduced as Han, someone we will see again and again in future movies, and a serious fan favorite among what will be our cast of drivers, our Avengers of drivers, if you will.
Nice.
We hit all the plugs. And he's pretty damn cool. He comes from the Brad Pitt School of Acting, where he's just eating constantly.
Okay, cool.
And Han is a welcome addition, though, because he's probably the only real good performance in this film, and he's legitimately a cool character. Han's always been, a good highlight in all these films.
Okay.
So, Little Bow Wow isn't very good. Never thought I had to say that in my life. But apparently he comes back in the 9th one, so maybe
Are you serious?
he'll redeem himself. Yeah, I mean, these films run out of gas, run out of fodder characters to pull from. Because by the time we get to 5, they've already pulled the Avengers card. We're getting the whole crew back together. We're getting,
But this is right. But when 5 comes around, these players are still in their own Tokyo Drift universe.
Little story. Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll just have to go.
They
just
pull
along for the
more.
ride.
They pull
Who's the
more.
Doctor Strange that comes and blends these universes?
That's Little Bow Wow.
Twinkie? Is his name in the movie Twinkie?
I was gonna bring it up. Oh man, who let him have that name? I'll say this is a much slower film. The Japanese tuning and drift culture is very cool, though. Of course, I will be remiss if I didn't mention the anime Initial D. So much of the visuals, racing track variety, and emphasis on drifting all ties back to that 1998 anime. And clearly, Justin Lin should be given some credit for capturing real stunt work that was only ever animated otherwise. So, I said, I'm not a huge fan of Lin's directing. He also kind of crapped on an already declining Star Trek franchise when he did the Star Trek Beyond.
Oh my god. He's the one who did that. Oh my god.
That was an actual revelation for you.
But with the action, so at least he can do a car chase.
Yeah, a car chase, a car crash.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
And did it feel anime-y?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Especially on the real, there's this Japanese hill that is like a crazy zigzag. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's been in Initial D. That's been in other things.
And Initial D is what again?
An old anime from 1998.
Okay, like a classic?
Maybe not a classic, but a car classic.
Oh,
it's all about car racing.
Okay, gotcha.
It's all about drifting. CGI is back to being on par with the first one, which, believe it or not, is better. But, that's just the weird aspect of 2. But let me tell you, the physical stunts are that are done with cars might be the very best. Easily the best real car work yet in the series. And there's just some things that I think I prefer, even though we get so crazy and so wild in the car mayhem eventually. There's a nice balance here that will get thrown out a whole hand. It's that balance with the car destruction that I want to praise again Justin Lin a little bit. The early, as far as notable stunts, the early wreck that lands Sean in Japan, the first parking garage race sequence, and the classic drifting hill sequence, all very, very notable stunts and good stuff.
Okay.
So I would say I didn't like this movie a lot, but production-wise, it looks great and might have just saved it. Off of the street racing alone, it's excellent. However, there's quite a lot of blah in this film, from generic high school romance to just some real terrible acting. I would say it all kind of equals out, but still might be the best as a standalone film as it was originally designed to be. We're going to go ahead and give The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift a 53.
53, okay. We really landed in a nice little puddle here.
Yeah. A little lackluster, but I mean, it's,
Okay, and by the way, as far as, maybe let's look at this. So Too Fast, Too Furious, you liked it for how much racing there was.
Yeah.
If you had to say percentage of racing in the film.
60?
Okay, So now
there's a lot of high school and there's the romance.
Tokyo Drift, what are we getting?
60.
Oh, 60. I meant for Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, like 90. it's all racing.
Okay. All right. So 53% on the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Very good. Okay, so now we get back. The crew comes together. I'll touch base on. Let's go through some numbers. Actually,
sure.
So, Too Fast, Too Furious. Like I said, it doubled number one budget, so $76 million. It made 236. 236 worldwide.
Okay.
It's about 30 million more than the first one. Tokyo Drift, out of all 10 films, well, I'm sure will be all 10 films, the worst performing.
Really?
So it's got an $85 million budget, along with 4, by the way, and it made only 159.
85 is with 4 has 85 as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tokyo Drift and Fast and Furious both have $85 million. And I think they just kept it the same because Tokyo Drift performed the worst. So it made its money back, but barely. And not actually, it didn't really make its money back, actually, now that I'm
sure.
looking at it.
After marketing as well.
They say you got to double it.
Yep.
So budget of 85, they only made 159. So it's the only film that grossed less than 200 million.
Wow.
Worldwide. So.
And that's what I kind of commented on. It's still kind of even for fans, it's the ugly stepchild, basically. It's kind of a pariah. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, all right, let's jump back. We're back in the normal universe, the normal world now. Again, this is 3 years later, so we have 01, 03, 06. This is now 2009. This is Fast and Furious, again, directed by Justin Lin. Let's pick it up right away. I'm kind of shocked that they gave him the reins just because it was the worst performing movie.
That's a great
of
observation.
the 3 that had came out at that point.
Yeah.
I don't know where the trust is in that. I mean, I really don't get that. But let's get into it right away. How'd you like it?
Yeah, well, Fast and Furious, I did not like. And unfortunately, is not a good way to kick off where this franchise is going to be going. Folks, we're down just to 3 words for the title. Insert Justin Timberlake from Social Network, cutting out the out of the name. It's just a product of the time. This is coming out in 2009. This is definitely in the wake of Dark Knight, where everything needs to be gritty and dark and...
You would think that sounds good. You would think that sounds good.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the start of this middle trilogy that they do? Does that start now?
Yeah, kind of. That's interesting that you picked up on that. It's basically Justin Lin has this little trilogy running out to 6.
Okay. I thought I had read that 5 to 5, 6, and 7 are their own thing.
They do tie into each other very directly. Like the ends of each of these movies play directly into
there you go.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. Oh, wait, but this is 4. So 5, 6, 7 are their own thing. This is 4. I'm getting confused now.
It's similar, though. 4 definitely plays right into 5.
Oh, okay.
In addition to Justin Lin helming it.
Okay, all right.
So,
sorry, I'm trying to... I'm white-knuckling it here.
I feel like that's good evidence, though, because if people don't know how to navigate this, guess what? Vin's got your answers. This time, the Toretto crew cracks down on heroin by doing what? By drug running. Talk about enablement. We see the return of both Dominic Toretto and Brian O'Connor, once again on opposite sides of the law, until they are brought together to find the criminal underworld that separates Michelle Rodriguez from Dom, playing the love interest for Dom, Letty. And we start to slowly slip into the tropes of these later films. And mainly that is the super spy character writing and car mayhem. Car mayhem, kind of self-explanatory. It's what the series is famous or infamous for. But the super spy aspect is what I really want to dive into. Characters are so wildly given control over the plot and abilities that are not true to their character at the start of it. I'm not saying that you can't progress it,
right,
but are just such wild leaps of believability.
Okay,
that pretty much in every one of these films, at least again, I'm at the time of recording this, I'm at 7. Let you know if it falls off of her Fate of the Furious. I'm telling you, there's just this. Everyone can do everything. Everyone's a super genius. Everyone's a super hacker. Everyone's a mechanic. Everyone, you know what I mean? It's
absolutely.
It robs stakes. So, plenty of commentary for that. It's an awkward transition, though, here. There is officially a new mood and tone this film has taken on. One of a more serious gravitas that is presented in this generic Jason Bourne-style garbage. This is honestly probably a flawless example of the ultra-gritty trend in the late 2000s, and man, does it leave this film lifeless. This film is the anomaly. This film feels so lifeless and doesn't have the amped-up stakes to get crazy enough.
So this really is its middle child.
Yeah.
Trying to lose its identity, but doesn't even know who it is yet, really.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. And maybe, especially doesn't know who it is yet.
Interesting.
So, I was begging for any of these later movies to have the fun energy of Too Fast, Too Furious, but sadly, it let me down repeatedly. This actually being the worst one. A score, soundtrack, cinematography, and worst of all, script, nothing survives this tonal shift, and it is plain and painfully awful. It is bad. I have to be honest, coming back to Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez was not fun. Right. I feel like their acting is just so bad in this. Vin is just a plank of wood. He cannot lead this movie for shit. He has like this Batman detective vision now. I'm not joking. Like, he forensically analyzes in his mind a car crash. And meanwhile, he just looks like idiotic. So it's
right.
He's like calculating everything in his mind. And now suddenly he's this like strong vengeance type. I can't hold too tightly to Fast 1 because otherwise it will be a critique in every one of these films. But Toretto was only ever a decent character. He wasn't great. He was a decent character. He had some mystery, an empathetic spin, but he's not that great. Vin is missing a little bit too many screws to really capture any degree of cool factor, certainly that cool factor that is needed in a leading man. You know, so when he gives these wannabe badass lines, he sounds like a total imbecile.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude is so
You just can't
dumb.
sell it. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I hate, call it friendly fire going after a fellow Vin, but I'm telling you, the dude, he needs to stop acting.
Man, I would love to watch him in Triple X now, too.
Triple X, the Riddick movies.
Right, he's supposed to be... Riddick's a little bit different. Triple X is still supposed to be this badass agent, kind of like cool guy, can do everything.
Yeah. And maybe in the... I don't know. When was Triple X? That was probably mid-2000s, right? Maybe in the wake of that, that's where, again... They thought, oh, why don't we just do that in the Fast and Furious franchise?
Yeah,
producer type of talk.
I know, and it's funny because I like the idea of going. I like the idea of going serious. I like the idea of going Jason Bourne, whatever, some sort of grittiness and everything like that. Like that sounds cool.
Okay,
and like at that point, I'm not upset that if we're not having fun. Like if you're gonna give me James
Spy
Bond,
action.
yeah, James Bond isn't necessarily fun, but it's just like really good to watch.
Right.
But this just seems like it's failing all.
Yeah.
And the script's bad, and the writers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point in my watching, I truly feared for every other movie to come because of Vin's acting and central focus. I hate to say, those fears really do come true. The half Batman, half crime style action in this really sucks as well. Such horrible fight choreography. There's this part where Vin is like Batman holding someone out the window for information. He lets them drop, and then somehow in the choreography of it, they flip to grab the same windowsill, which O'Connor saves them from. It's just like bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
No one's trying. Please hire some sort of choreographer, because I don't think there is. Maybe it's writer's strike. Maybe there's a choreographer strike.
Wow, that's an interesting take.
Topical.
Yeah.
But yeah,
actually, there might have been a writer's strike.
I'm telling you, it's bad action. Paul Walker is back on par with his performance in Fast 1 as well. And nowhere near as fun as in Fast 2. I'm sorry if I'm kind of holding the torch for Fast 2, but he was really a blast. It was a great performance out of him. But he has to fill this kind of gritty bullshit, and especially he's now the law angle again. Well, guess what? He now has to be kind of the buttoned-up law angle. The writing behind this side of the story is particularly bad. Pretty much every time the feds are on screen, it is cooking up an excuse for the writing that they dug themselves into. There's this weird time thing that they have to check the right the right documents in the right files and gives them this like 2-week window. And it's like, couldn't your writers just figure out a different way than to throw jargon at us this way? You know, it's really lame. This clearly was the weak spot in writing, because the next film we see the law angle reworked in a big way, a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson size way, which thankfully works a lot better. We also get introduced to a new female racer in the crew, Gal Gadot playing Gisela Yashar. I think it's right, Gisela. Yeah. I would say she is the lower half of the character rankings, but only because it's very, very early in Gadot's career. While, of course, beautiful, her line delivery is unfortunately very terrible.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's just struggling with the simplest of dialogue that kills specifically the cool factor she's going for. She's supposed to be this like cool as ice type of racer, and it's unfortunately not cool. Now, though it's tame for what's to come, the infamous car combat, or car foo, it's here, folks. If you're looking for it, the car foo's here. And there are plenty of action adventure style car sequences. I can't necessarily call them racing scenes, but there are plenty of fast cars. It is not at the point of outrageousness full time yet, but it's just ridiculous enough that it removes any true harm or stakes for our characters, which, when I think of these action sequences and how I turn my brain off and how I'm not engaged with the mayhem, as visually impressive or production-wise how impressive it is, I turn my brain off because I know my characters are not going to die when performing these increasingly outrageous stunts. Notable stunts here, there is a mine shaft race sequence that's pretty intense. And then also the opening heist, which I'll give credit to it, but it's also a perfect example of why I don't think the spectacle works without stakes. It's right in the opening, there's this gas truck that they're heisting, and it's rolling out of control, and Letty is yelling in Dom's ear, and he just drives right towards it and like drifts underneath it. And all right, cool, visually whatever, but in no way do I fear for their life.
Right.
In the way that the action is being sold.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. It's just too safe. Everything is too safe.
Yeah.
And the danger isn't there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that only compounds the crazier we get.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? All the praise that these later films get of just like, oh, bro, can you believe that? That shit, it doesn't mean anything when I know the crew is going to be A-okay. Folks, this one was just so painfully generic, so painfully boring. I really thought it was a total waste of time. Even the early films, while they are certainly not great movies, they had an identity of their own here. And to top it all off, I think that this one could even be a pass with the franchise lore itself. We will see this film's events retconned again and again. I feel like it's a total pass even within the franchise recommendation. We're going to go ahead and give Fast and Furious 2009 a 33.
Wow, 33, big dip, big
there
dip.
We go. It's a bit deeper of a puddle.
Yes. And you mean that? You think that people can just kind of go ahead and skip by?
I think so.
You're not going to miss too much, not drop too much?
I mean, there obviously are aspects that are brought up, but again and again, they're just retcon for this fake lore. You know what I mean? And by fake lore, I mean, it's like you're pulling this shit out of your ass. It's not real lore. That wasn't there in the films.
Wow. Okay. All right. So 33% for Fast and Furious. Again, I still think it's the best name. Real quick, we want to remind people, we don't do producer segment on kind of these specials. But just a quick reminder, we're going on the value for value model. Are you finding the podcast, the website, the newsletter valuable? If you can, you go to thedailyratings.com, you go to the donations tab, and through monetary support, you can show us what kind of value you're getting from kind of everything that we're sending out. Mm-hmm. And through kind of donating our way, basically you become a producer and you become an official producer of the Daily Ratings. Mm-hmm. So with that money that you're sending us, you go ahead and write in a note. We're going to go ahead and read that right here on the podcast, whether it's questions, critiques, comments, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're going to take the time to fill out the form and send us some cash, then we really appreciate it. We're going to read whatever you write there. there.
Yep.
And again, it makes you an official producer of the Daily Rating. So if you're getting value from all this, go ahead to thedailyratings.com and head to the donations tab. Now, okay, so this is our last film today, and this is when the franchise really takes a turn. So now it's a $125 million budget when 4 only made $360 million worldwide, which was the most grossing. This now made $626.
Whoa,
and I'll make a note for almost literally all of these, all 9 of these so far that are out. They do okay in the States. They do all right. Really nothing to like get crazy and shout about.
Okay.
They are huge international films, and
Really?
most notably China.
Oh, wow.
Huge in China. Yeah.
Interesting.
They are consistently now, like, I think once 5 comes along, and maybe even 4, China's always performing better as far as even in the U.S., which almost never, ever happens.
Interesting.
So it is strange, but they're really starting to clock up here. 5, they're making money to it, and they know things are going to be happening now. I want to jump right into it. How did we like Fast 5?
I feel like it was a little bit of return to form, and look out, folks, because we're going out on a big one. Fast 5, in addition to being one of the better titles in the
Agreed.
franchise.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, maybe we can have a title ranking as well, in addition to the score
that'd be fun.
ranking.
Yeah.
It is largely considered the best of the series, and a perfect mix of what the series was and what it will become. But does it live up to the hype? Unfortunately, kind of a yes and no.
Okay.
We pick up exactly where 4 left off, making this more of a direct sequel than we have seen so far. Our gang is on the run, or should I say on the ropes, because can you smell? The Rock is tracking them down. I actually think this writing is a good early praise, an early win for the film. Super Cop Hobbs, played by The Rock. Is he a little cringy? Sure.
Right.
I mean, is he absolutely jacked? Sure. I felt it was a surprise praise for me because the writing was kind of shocking to me in a good way. Not only do we get a charismatic anti-hero to see what the law is up to during the plot, not only now does that relieve Brian O'Connor as a character to be now fully part of Toretto's crew, which is where he needs to be. It adds a new layer of tension to the action, with Hobbs being such a threat to shutting the crew down. It's a little bit of tension from both sides, which I think just works better as a action thriller.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Where before the law angle was just like, and they're acting crazy. We can't control these racers. It's like a non-factor. Now the law is actually a factor of tension.
Right. You actually have some stakes here.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But Toretto's crew can't just lay low. They got to pull off one last job to get the payday to freedom. 5 out of 10. The 5th film out of 10. And we're talking about one last job. I feel like if they knew what they were going to do, cut that out. Stop that. We're just silly now. So a full-on reunion with the gang is needed. A true Avengers moment 1 year earlier, actually. It was 2011. This means fan favorites from 1, 2, 3, and 4 make an appearance, giving some heist expertise, I guess, that I assure you that their characters did not have previously. They did not have this heist expertise. Ludacris will be a character that I touch on more and more in the second half.
Okay.
Yeah, he went from like an event promoter to now super genius.
Okay.
Like Q almost.
Okay,
and
from the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's tough. Originally, the character I think was Ja Rule. I think it then got recasted as Ludacris. Yeah, I think it,
Okay. I'm with you.
Keep it up. From what I can tell, this reunion is where Fast 5 gets all the love from fans. But honestly, I could just give 2 shits about it. Characters are not written how they were in their individual films. So my observation is like, do they even matter when they show up as newly written, newly forced through the mold and the lens of the tone that this film is taking?
Same name, different character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of them is cutting my favorite character Roman, and making him, I don't know, his jokes aren't even funny anymore.
And who plays Roman again?
Tyrese Gibson.
Oh, okay, right.
He's forced to have this same serious mold as everyone, and yeah, he maybe gets one or two joking moments, but again, pales in comparison to the fun that
Different
he was
character.
in the original one.
Yep.
The heist story structure, and you could be saying, oh, it's a heist now, it's a little bit more fun. I mean, it really plays out generic with planning stages and brainstorming scene in any film like this. And let me tell you, the need for racing elements and cars in this heist idea is so stupid. Like, it's only 5 and we don't need cars.
Right.
That's the trajectory that we're at right now. You could just feel there's no focus on driving anymore. A flawless example, and I really had a bone to pick with this scene. A flawless example is they have to get this blue Porsche for getting a 10-second car. It's a callback to the first one, and they have to get by some cameras super fast. They challenge this guy with a blue Porsche to a series classic pink slip race where you lose the race, you lose your rights to the car.
Okay.
They get your car taken from you. It's a series classic.
I'm in for that. Yep.
The next scene, they jump to already having the car. In that, you see it flawlessly. It is not about racing anymore. The editors, the writers, Justin Lin even, saw that scene as filler. Do we really need to show them racing? Do they really need to show them?
Right. Let's just do the action.
Right.
Yeah. Let's just get, yeah.
It's just such a crazy understanding of their own film.
It's lost
franchise.
its soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I understand how in the scope of the story, sourcing modified cars may seem like busy work and a distraction from the plot, but I assure you, editing out scenes like this will only make the franchise's identity crisis worse. And that's where I was really standing with this. I mean, this is a film for the fans. It's really trying to clock up nostalgia.
Yeah, this is one.
Yeah, but man, it's got the focus in all the wrong areas. Hand-to-hand fight choreography is better, admittedly. Definitely not the lows of that ledge scene that Vin Diesel had. But that's a direct improvement coming off of 4. I am, however, seeing a trend, at least in these Justin Lin films, that whatever action trend is hot in film at the time, they rip off. We had the gritty, dark knockoff last time, the wannabe Dark Knight. This time we are filled with exotic location and parkour segments reminiscent of Daniel Craig era Bond movies.
What's the hot internet thing?
Right.
They're kind of, yeah.
Exactly. It feels like this is coming off of like a Quantum of Solace or later kind of Bourne films that they're trying to rip off.
Okay, yeah, I bet.
That in itself captures a little bit of my hatred for these films. They are parasitic in nature. They are just leeching off other movies at a certain point.
And it's not in its DNA. You don't want to see action as far as these guys doing parkour or fighting.
Yes.
You want to see them fighting in cars. Right. You want to see them in cars fighting. That's what you want.
The car food.
Yes.
You want racing, but we're not going to get racing, so you want car food.
100%.
I'm glad we're on the same page, Tom. I feel like even researching the reception of these films, I felt like I was taking crazy pills because it's like, oh my God, how do you misunderstand?
That's the thing. You were a movie critic. You were not a Fast and Furious fan.
Right. I wasn't fan first.
Two very big things, two different things. Very different things.
It's totally different beast. I would say the card work is largely what keeps this film in a positive rating for me. My preference for racing focus aside, we are fully in the car mayhem mode for the action, and that will only go up from here. I think where this is most impressive is in wrecking the cars because a surprisingly little amount of CGI is used. They're really wrecking some cars.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
right there. Okay, at least we're doing that.
Yeah.
Seriously, you know?
Yeah, there's something for it. This is where Justin Lin's directing shines, honestly, and a carryover from my praise in Tokyo Drift. Lives lost, collateral damage aside, the physical destruction on screen incorporates an impressive amount of practical effects, and that production should be praised. I know a lot of moviegoers will like also, or maybe I shouldn't say moviegoers, but kind of film buffs will like to track, what's the craziest car wreck. They always give it to Blues Brothers for the craziest car wreck on screen. I feel like that scratched a little bit of production praise that someone could get behind for how crazy they are with these wrecks.
Well, I know where to go but up at that.
You'd think. Notable stunts, an early train heist with the crew, and of course the true insanity of how the main heist progresses for the finale. No spoilers. Folks, as you have heard, I've really tried to grasp an appreciation for this film, for the franchise, for the car culture of it. But going into this, I thought I was going to be able to trust fans to get it right for their franchise. I came out saying, this is the best it gets. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I said, oh boy.
Yep.
I mean, sadly, for all the reunion that takes place in this film, every character has little to offer and boils down to a fan shout out to fill a driver's seat to progress the plot. While I can't deny the praise for production this visual mayhem has, it's only surface level. Characters will increasingly push outside of how they're written simply because the plot needs them to in pursuit of crazier and crazier stunts. And we're only just getting started, folks, because that pursuit of more and more outrageous car mayhem, that's what's going to be part 2 of the special. We're going to go ahead and give Fast 5 a 55.
Wow, 55. Okay. All right, so what I'm seeing here...
Let's get an analysis.
I'm seeing very much of the same. Good and bad in different ways.
Right.
A lot of the same ways, but boy, I mean, we're doing 51, 63. I mean, besides the 33, we're dancing. I mean, we're dancing in the same little...
little spot.
Right.
Little spot.
I mean, 63 is not bad, as we say. Once when you hit low 60s, is that 65?
Right.
We're in good movie territory.
Sure.
And that's what Too Fast, Too Furious is. Otherwise, it's go ahead and listen to the podcast, because they are different films. That's what's funny, but they're just landing in very much the same spot.
Yeah.
Like I said, 5 was by far the most financially successful. And of course, we get more than after.
Yeah. In ways, I wish I could say, start with 5. See if you like the car mayhem. But it's such a nostalgia fest of bringing back the who's who of drivers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't say it like that.
Yeah,
So.
I think at the end of next week's episode with the rest of them, it'd be fun to go back and, like you said, we can kind of tear them off a little bit,
Yeah.
and we can also see what can be dropped, what can be skipped. If you were to rearrange, what would it be? Play
I want a
around
Tommy
with it.
Two Shoes on the best titles of the
I could do that. I could do that. So far, I think Fast 5 and Fast and Furious are definitely the best.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I know Too Fast, Too Furious. It's literally, I don't know. It's the number 2 as well. I don't know.
Yeah, 2 is twice in there. It's just
I don't know. It's a hell of a week that you put yourself through.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you watching these films. Is there anything you wanted to add? Anything for next week or?
Not really for next week. I did have one idea that I came across. Have you heard about this movie Ghosted? Came out on Apple.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It is being critiqued as the worst of the year.
Oh, good. Okay,
So,
good. That makes sense.
Oh, no, yeah. No,
Everything, you know what? It's just...
People think it's like an actually AI written film. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
the poster, the main image
Yeah.
poster itself, I looked at it and I said, no. This is 2002 garbage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Just look at it. It looks
Absolutely.
terrible. With
Yeah.
these 2 big actors.
Right. And go back to my Gray Man review. Man, I don't think I can give praise to Chris Evans being normal Chris Evans anymore, because he's clearly doing nothing after Captain America. Like...
Yeah, and what was he doing before Captain America?
Right. I expected, I don't know, like
should be in-
Scarlett Johansson going to Marriage Story. Like these actors, like specifically Downey and Evans, doing some sort of, big movie. I don't know.
Evans, he sucks. I don't like him. I'm not the biggest. Well, wait, no, he was Lightyear.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a flop as well.
But my question maybe to folks at home, not a donation scenario, but write in, email us. Do you have interest in me covering what is being lauded as the worst of the year?
Yeah, well,
is there value in me?
Yes, I'll speak for all of us and say, obviously, yeah, go watch. I mean, come on. You're just setting yourself up for that.
Well, if something's overtly bad... Do you really need me to add to the pile, or you
Yeah.
want? Maybe I misunderstand our audience a little bit.
No, but that's funny because that movie's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And also, I'm hearing okay things about the movie Blackberry.
Oh.
And it's just like, so we're doing this now. We have Tetris, we have Blackberry, we have Air for Air Jordans.
Yeah.
It's like, so this is what we're doing this year. It's like, okay.
Right. Yeah.
But okay, Vin, thank you so much for watching these. Thank you for the continued watching. We cannot wait for next week to wrap this up and kind of see where we're at in the whole franchise. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of watching. We appreciate you, Vin. Folks at home, we're going to run this down one more time. We have The Fast and the Furious with a 51%. Too Fast, Too Furious with a 63. The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift with a 53. Fast and Furious with a 33. Fast 5 with a 55%. Folks, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week to conclude this franchise, and we'll catch you next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you would you give us a good rating or tell a friend about us? If you're wondering if a film is worth a watch, or if you'd just like to see more movie ratings from Vince, be sure to stop by thedailyratings.com, where we have our ever-expanding catalog of films. Also, if you found value in the podcast or our site, become a producer and go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com. You can donate whatever amount of value you feel you received from us. We're looking to build this into something large and great, but also be independent from those corporate sponsors, so we greatly appreciate any support from you all. So thanks so much, and we'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.